And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this sort of the high point. I'm going to make the land actually sort of drain that way and drain that way. One of the nicest cuts I've ever seen, man. I mean, that's right about 7/8 of an inch. I'm not going extremely low with this rye out here, perennial rye.
Except for all these seed heads, it's a really good looking cut, man.
So look at you, all skinny. Say no fat shaming, Dad. No fat shaming.
It's just gorgeous.
Man, it's like walking. It's just like walking on carpet. It feels like it has padding underneath it. It's actually squishy. It's really cool. I don't understand it. Going on, man. Look at that sun disappearing. Ah, my eyes. So today we're gonna do real mower time. And I had a come to Jesus moment, and it wasn't the solar eclipse. I'll explain it later, but what I was going to use out here, I'm going to use as a pond, and what I was going to use at the pond, I'm going to use here, because this is probably one of the nicest cuts I've ever seen, man. I mean, that's right about 7/8 of an inch. I'm not going extremely low with this rye out here, perennial rye, but I got to tell you, man. So today I'm going to cut this with my low cut series, and then I told Mclane I'd run their new GK2 out here. And what I'm going to do is, I didn't really want another lawnmower, but here's what I'm going to do. I told Mclane that they kept wanting to send me one to test and do a video on. I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run it out here, or run it on the pond, and then I'm going to give you guys one. I'm going to pay for it, and then have them ship you a brand new one. That's kind of what I'm going to do. So the giveaway I'm going to do, I don't know, it's going to be in about 2 months. All you have to do is be on our mailing list. I'm not going to do it on YouTube or Facebook. There's too many scams. So you go down to our website, there's an email sign up. It is not for marketing, people. I send out 2 emails a year. It's an automatic system. And that system just notifies you whenever I put out a video. So most of the videos, sometimes I don't even do a post on it. So yeah, that's what we'll do, is we use a random number generator, and with the number of subscribers or number of people on the email list, we pick one and go. Anyway, so let's go ahead and I'll show you the GK2 2004, and then also my low cut, which you probably already have seen. All right, I had to get something to sit on because the grass is wet. I'm waiting for the grass to dry so I can cut this. And I made a couple of notes so I don't forget. That is my 2024 low cut series. The low cut series is the same as the GR series, but it has a different cutting range. That will cut down to like 3/8 of an inch, all the way up to about, I want to say, 1.5 inches. They say 1 3/4, but I think it's more like 1.5 inches. So if you have a very low lawn and you want to keep it really low, that's a great mower. I've been using that for, what, months out here now. Before, I actually have the GR series down at the beach house, which is the same thing. It's that one handle control, but it has a range of, the GR has a range of 3/4 of an inch up to about 2¼ inches. So it's a much wider range. Personally, I think for the average consumer, either the GR or the low cut, the LC low cut series is probably a good choice to go. Now, I understand not everyone can afford a reel mower, but they're selling robots out there, robot reel mowers that cut the grass like crap. They don't do a good job, and they're $2,500 to $5,500. And they have a little blade under it that spins. It's just, I don't know why. Anyways, this is the GK2. Now the GK2 is, I think, probably, I guess I should call it the new beast for 2024. This one has the optional Honda GX200, which is the bigger motor. Normally, reel mowers come with a 160 usually. This has the 200 on it. This has 10 blade versus a 7 blade. When is a 10 blade needed? 7 blade is fine for the majority of lawns. You need a 10 blade when you start to drop below 1/2 inch is really when you need it. So if you really want to cut it short, when you want to get down, like if you're doing a putting green, you really have to have a 10 blade. So when you start to drop down to like half an inch, quarter inch, or even a putting green, you're going to have a 10 blade. The difference on this one from previous models, from like the previous GK, now the old GK, which is the greenskeeper that I had 2 of those, believe it or not, would go from like a 1/8 of an inch all the way up to only 3/4 of an inch. So the range was limited. And what they've done here, they've re-engineered this to go from 1/8 of an inch all the way up to 2 1/8 of an inch. Now that's pretty dramatic. They've done this by putting a different bed knife in here and a reel. Now the bed knife and the reel on this model only is covered by 10 years. It's a 10-year warranty on the reel and the bed knife just on this model. The rest of the warranty basically is the same as all your other manufacturers. It's like a full year warranty against any defects, you know, blah, blah, blah. The basic models go from a GR series, which is about, now I only recommend a 25 inch. I understand a lot of people go with the 20, but I think if you're gonna go with a real mower, spend a couple $100 more and get the 25 versus a 20. You'll never be sorry that you bought a 25 inch. You might be sorry you bought a 20 inch. I'll just tell you, I refuse to have. I bought one 20 inch, a True Cut 20 inch, and I used that thing for just a couple of months and I was like, it's just too small. The wider the reel mower, the more it levels off the surface, the more it levels off the bumps. Just think about it. If you had a 12-inch wide reel mower, it would follow every little contour and groove. If you had a 4-foot wide reel mower, it would just sort of smooth everything out. That's why I like the 25s. So the 25s. The greenskeeper, the GR series, it's about $2,500. The Low Cut series with the Briggs on it is about $2,600, somewhere in there. And then the GK2 is about $3,400, somewhere in there. I hate giving out prices because who knows what it'll be next year. This is about $34. So no, they're not cheap. But if you want to buy a mower that'll last you a lifetime, this is really a one-time investment. The other thing you need to understand is that almost throughout the entire US, freight is free on these things. So if you go over to the website that I tell you to go to, and you say Doc recommended, if you say Doc recommend, you get a free grass catcher on at least these 2 models. You get free freight. So that includes about $175 to $250 worth of freight. So just keep that in mind. That's about it. That's about the main difference on the 2 of them. Everything else is the same. The way that they are controlled, the handle systems, everything about it is the same. Now it's important to understand, let me show you the height control adjustments. So on the Low Cut series and on the GR series, you have a 1-handle control. It basically pops out and you change your height. It's very simple, very easy to change. 1 click and you're done. When you get to the greenskeeper series, and this is the GK2, you're going to have these knobs right here. And what you need to do is you need to loosen this bolt here, loosen this knob here, and then make your adjustments. And there are arrows that sort of line up exactly where you're cutting. One thing I do like about this is that you don't have any grease zerks, so you don't have any grease nipples. You don't have to grease these things. That was one of my complaints about the True Cuts and they had grease nipples, grease zerks just all over the place, and they were really hard to get to. But I do like the True Cut, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm kind of thinking what I want to do is, I almost wanted to do a double cut. Since we got so much rain coming in and I'm not gonna be able to cut for probably 4 days, I was thinking about maybe running the Low Cut series, my regular Low Cut series, with the grass catcher on the front, because I got all these seed pods out here. I've got all these stupid seed pods all over my lawn, and I got wet grass, and I want to get this done. So I'm thinking about actually putting a catcher on the front of that one, and then switch over to the big boy, the GK2, and I'll cut diagonal one way and maybe cut diagonal the other way. I don't know, we'll see. So let me show you the basic way that these Mclanes function. I forgot to show you that. So you really only have, it's a very simple setup. This is your throttle, high and low. This is your drive. When you drop this down, it engages your drive wheel down here, or you lift it up and it disengages it. And this is your clutch. So the clutch controls the drive wheel and the blades, but the manual cut that I always talk about is you can pull that drive wheel up and you can actually push this like a regular lawnmower with the blades running and get into tight spaces, or slow down and go around the fence, or go around these blocks, because you always hit those blocks. Really important. The simplicity of this system, the simplicity of this right here is amazing. So right now it pushes against this belt and it disengages it. When I squeeze this handle, watch what happens. It comes out and allows that wheel to engage. So the only thing that really could wear out on this whole thing is that one belt. And I have only, out of all the reel mowers I've owned from Mclane, one time. I replaced the belt one time. And all you do is you take off this little cover and you sort of work that belt off, put it back on, put the cover back on. That's it. And I think the belt is like 10-15 bucks. So that's the only real moving part in this thing that you have to worry about. The simplicity is absolutely amazing. That's why I love these things. All right, so you got arrows on this bar here, so you can just turn the arrows down. And what I've learned to do is sort of lift up, take the pressure off the wheel as you turn. Once you get it set, just tighten your bar back up. And then after you tighten your bar back up, you just tighten the two nuts again. All right, so the grass catcher is pretty simple. It's just a hook and a hook. When you get this, you have to, they'll have one bolt install. You need to install the other bolt. Put it on and just get it to the point that it's nice and comfortable fitting, and then tighten these up, and that's it. So I've got that thing pretty low on the RPMs. You can hear it. And that, honestly, these things are actually pretty quick. That's where you can cut your whole lawn, at that RPM. You don't have to rev it up real high, like a traditional rotary mower or a riding mower. Looks good, doesn't it? Once you start reel mowing on a grass like this, you can't stop. I mean, it's just such a beautiful cut. It really is. This lawn is not level. This lawn is not flat. And it just looks absolutely perfect. You can get down on your hands and knees and look at it. So this was the first cut. It's still kind of early, but the sun's out. I'm getting warm. I had to take off the sweatshirt. So I cut it with the 2024 LC. Here's what I took off. Beautiful, isn't it? Still a little wet. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get the blower and I'm going to blow this a little bit, see if I can get these blades to stand up a little bit, and then I'll take the GK2 and I'll cut it in the other direction. And with that 10 blade, it'll definitely catch some blades cutting. So while I'm here, let me give you a couple quick tips. When you're mowing with this, don't put your hands down like this. Don't do it on any reel mower, because what happens if that mower starts to bump up, you're going to hold it up. That's why I say try and lift up like this from the bottom up, and that's basically it. If you want to put your other hand like this, that's fine, but it just sort of keeps that mower going back to the ground versus having to rely on a heavy front roller, which I don't want. just turn your hands over and your mower will hug the ground. Next, when you first start reel mowing, and this is what I taught John, when you get to the end, let go of everything. So my drive wheel is down, I'm engaged, I'm cutting. When you get to the end, let go. Then pick up your drive wheel and only let one wheel turn. So if I want to turn this way, I only want this wheel to turn. When I do that, I will actually be perfectly in line with the next line. That's the beautiful thing about this. So again, when I'm coming down, I'm going to disengage my wheel, stop, let go. One wheel turns. This outer wheel is the only one that's going to turn. And I will be perfectly in line with my next strike. So I don't have to keep pulling it back and doing whatever. So when you first start, like I said, when you first start, just let go of everything. Once you get comfortable with it, when you get close to the end, disengage. You'll be having this engage. When you get close to the end, disengage the drive wheel and just finish your line manually and then turn. Let go and turn. It's pretty simple. Gosh, that thing is nice. It really is. There's nothing like a 10-blade greenskeeper, man. Whew. You can definitely, if I had my eyes closed and you started running both of them at the same RPM, I could tell you which is which. A 7-blade from a 10, because you definitely have a little bit more blade sound when you go with the 10. And it's 10 blades making contact with that bed knife or just above it. But man, I think what's going to end up happening, I didn't want this GK2, but now that I have it, I may take the Low Cut series and use it on the pond. This thing, I don't want to screw up this unit, dude. I mean, it'd be fine out there, but man, I don't know how low I can cut this perennial rye here. I've got it down. I have it set at 7/8. But let me show you in the sun and in the shade. These stupid seed heads here. But look at that. That is just gorgeous, man. That is just gorgeous. Of course, we're still looking at seed heads, but I mean, look at that. That is incredible. That is beautiful. So I'm gonna come out, once the sun comes up, I wanna come out here. Now, one note I will make on this, a lot of people say that the drive wheel leaves scar marks or burnout marks. I actually showed that by mistake in one of my old videos, because we had this yard was mud and it was really wet and we were slamming the clutch and it was spinning a little bit. All you do, I didn't get one spin mark here, and it's because I learned when you get to the end, you feather that drive in. So instead of squeezing that drive wheel handle, just feather it in and it slowly goes. I don't have any of those marks anymore. If I played on a golf course like this, dude, that would be sweet. This is nicer than any golf course that I've played on in most of my life, and I played a lot of golf. So what do I do when I'm done with them? I actually take them over here in the sunlight and in the hose, and I spray them down with the hose, and I leave them in the sunlight for about 20-30 minutes, let them dry off, and then I put them away, and that's it. That's the only cleanup I do. Sometimes I'll blow them off if I'm cutting really dry, but if it's wet grass like this, I usually hose them down. Well, I guess I should have known that this was going to happen. I started cutting with that 10 blade out back, and I'm like, dude, that is such a beautiful cut. 7 blade is perfect, but a 10 blade is just even, I mean, it's incredible. So most of my plugs are actually kind of pushed down now. I picked up probably about 30-40% of them. The rest of them are kind of squished down. So as you can see, I'm out here, I'm gonna scalp this down to about 1 inch. We had taken it down to about 2 or so. So I'm gonna scalp this down, and then I just put out a little more seed. I'm putting out little seed at a time. I'm putting down La Prima Bermuda, and I'm gonna use the Low Cut series out here because I don't want to mess up that beauty, that GK2. And I'll use that GK2 on the back since that lawn is so beautiful. Man, it's absolutely gorgeous. But you can see, man, I'm taking this down low compared to where we are over here. It's just amazing. This is like this. Stumps, roots, rocks. Look at how good that looks. That is amazing. So I guess my come to Jesus moment has hit me, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I got a 10 blade greens cutter. Why am I going to put this out here on this pond when I can take my LC series 7 blade and come out here and cut this and not screw up that thing and save that for the back? I think that was my moment I had just a little while ago. Oh man, so it's the next day out here and we're getting our rain move in. Look at that cut, man, that is just gorgeous. So it's cloudy, the rain's been moving in. We're supposed to have 2 or 3 days of rain, which is perfect for all the seeding I've got going on. It's gonna be crazy to see what happens on that pond over there. Hit subscribe, you don't wanna miss that. But I did wanna mention something pretty important, and that is that over the past year or so, I've really been stressing if you're making investment in larger equipment like mowers and reel mowers and whatever, try and buy USA made. And here's the reason why. It's not so much go USA. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about supply chain issues. I really think over the next probably 12 months or so, we're going to start to really have some supply chain issues with China. I really think that's going to start to happen, and even overseas. Mclane for decades has been made 100% manufactured in the United States. It's not assembled in the United States. They actually use all 99% USA source parts. USA employees manufacturing these machines. And I really think the beautiful thing about this is I can go on Amazon, I can go on eBay, I can find any of the parts that I want. As a matter of fact, the rear drive roller on one of my units that we abused, I wanted to replace those drive wheels. I bought them off eBay. There's a guy on eBay that sells them. You can get them anywhere. They have dealers, they have wholesale distributors. The other thing is speed. If it's in stock, you place an order, you're going to get these mowers usually with anywhere from 2 to 5 days in most cases. So it is fast. That's if you order from the place that I talk about below. Also, if you order, mention Doc. Either write it in the comments or call them up and say, hey, Doc said that I get a free grass catcher. You get a free grass catcher. And I think that's on all the units. Don't hold me to that. But I just am thrilled with the simplicity of these units, how they cut, how they perform. And the other thing is I can work on them. And that's one of my requirements is I have to be able, I'm not a mechanic, but I can take apart that unit basically and put it back together. It's very, very simple. Sharpening, backlapping and sharpening the bed knife. I've gotten to the point that I might do it once a year. It's not something that you got to do all the time. I do it, like I said, I do it maybe once a year. It's a simple process, takes about 20 minutes. I've done videos on that. But I want to be able to backlap. That's why I never buy a cartridge. I don't want to buy a cartridge I got to ship off somewhere. I want something that I can actually backlap myself, and it's a real simple process. So anyways, guys, I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, drop down below, and that's about it. Sign up for the giveaway. Just be on the email list. Doc.